You are a stranger to me. We are not blood related, so I'm gonna cut ties with you here. Dad said he doesn't like you either. Will you renounce your inheritance as well? I'm cutting ties with you here. All right, I understand. So that's your true feelings, huh? Well then, from now on. My name is Kira. I lived with my husband Jensen and our just turned 20-year-old daughter, Marin. Actually, Marin and I have no blood relation. Marin is Jensen's daughter from his previous relationship, so we are stepfamily. So, there are various complexities compared to a typical family, but after living together for several years, we had already become like a real parent and child. We were planning to continue our close relationship like that in the future. However, one day, Jensen suddenly passed away. It was a sudden shock for both me and Marin. And anyway, we need to contact a funeral home. We sometime went into a daze, but somehow, we managed to complete the funeral preparations. We held the funeral with various guests in attendance, but a major incident happened during the funeral. During the eulogy, at the end of the funeral, I fought back my tears and gave a speech to thank the people who came. The funeral home had prepared some words for me, but it's an important funeral for Jensen. I wanted to express my feelings in my own words. It seems like that was the right choice, because many people were in tears. Everyone seemed to be remembering Jensen. As I watched that scene, I felt a warm heart, but suddenly, Marin, who was sitting next to me in the family section, stood up. Then, she asked me to hand her the microphone. Since Marin is already an adult, maybe she wants to say something at Jensen's funeral. Thinking that, I handed Marin the microphone. At that moment, Marin said something unexpected. My father, Jensen, passed away. So, I've decided to cut ties with this person acting all high and mighty as chief mourner. Marin said, looking down at me with cold eyes. I was shocked by the sudden turn of events and couldn't say anything. Isn't that normal, though? After all, I have no blood relation with this person. She's just a stepmother, pretending to be a real mom. It was so annoying. Marin? I've been pretending to be a good child all this time, because that's what Dad wanted. I worked hard for Dad's sake. But I always thought of you as just a cash cow. I've never considered you a mother. Marin's words made the guests at the funeral start murmuring. Why would she say something like that now? Could it be that something have done to her before? After all, it's a complicated relationship, right? They say those things happen. For a child to say something like that here, it must have been really difficult. Poor thing. The words of those people were mixed with a sense of misunderstanding about me. Perhaps Marin could hear it too. With a triumphant look, Marin looked down on me and said, "See, do you understand public opinion? The way others perceive you is just like that. Well, I mean, I've been raising you since you were in elementary school. I took care of you all night when you had a fever. I made you late-night snacks during your exams, listened to your worries." Memory of my time with Marin resurfaced in my mind. She used to call me Mom and was so affectionate. But deep down, did she really think of me as an annoying stranger? Did she felt I'm in her way because we were not blood related? Look, don't you get it yet? Do you even know why Dad married you in the first place? Huh? Well, we met through a friend, started dating. We had common hobbies, and... Huh? Seriously, you believe that? Huh? Marin let out an exaggerated sigh. Then, while she was mocking me, she said, "Listen up. Dad treated you like a maid. Dad made good money, but the work was such a hard schedule, right? So he wanted someone to take care of me and do the housework. Well. So there was no love. So, will you read the room and renounce the inheritance?" Huh? Of course. After all, Dad hated you, right? Yet, you have the nerve to want his property? Shameless. Don't you think everything should rightfully go to me, his real daughter? Marin was making outrageous claims. She seemed to genuinely believe she was right, and she laughed confidently. Even though I have worked hard to raise her until now, why do I have to be told like this? Marin was what you might call a bit of a handful child. She had a long rebellious phase, got into trouble with friends at school, and even refused to go to school at times. She wouldn't do her homework, no matter how many times I asked. She never did help with houseworks, and I had to ask her repeatedly to do even the simplest tasks. To be honest, I've wondered why I had to go through so much trouble for someone who isn't even my own child. But I persevered because Jensen, whom I loved dearly, asked me to. I listened to Marin's troubles, encouraged her, and raised her with all my might. Thanks to that, Marin successfully graduated from high school and has been working admirably for the past 2 years. When she started working, she even bought me a beautiful piece of jewelry with her first paycheck. Nevertheless, she apparently still thought of me as an annoying stepmom in her heart. The shocking revelation left me in despair. I see. If that's what you want, then that's fine. Oh, really? Well, then, there are probably various procedures for renouncing the inheritance, right? I'll look into it and send you the documents. You do that, Marin? Hey, you are a stranger. Don't call my name so easy. Seriously, I hate that. You are insensitive and rude. Marin is giving me a displeased expression. And continued, I don't trust you at all. If I ask you, you might not go through with the procedures. So I'll handle it, all right? Saying that, Marin looked around at the people who had come to the funeral. I apologize for causing a scene today. However, I'd like the people here to be witnesses. My father's friends, colleagues, and relatives from both families. Please be witnesses to me severing ties with this person. Marin spoke with a solemnity, like a speech. But I couldn't remain silent any longer. I received the microphone from Marin and said, I apologize for showing the drama today. However, my feelings align with wanting witnesses. Everyone, I no longer consider this child as my daughter. Therefore, there's no need to come to her aid, no matter what she says. I would appreciate it if you could be witnesses to that. My words seemed to irritate Marin. She spoke while glaring at me. What's that supposed to mean? I have no intention of seeking your help. I'm a grown woman now. I get the heritage, and I'll live freely on my own. I'll have nothing to do with you, ever. I see. I understand. Live your life strongly, no matter what comes your way. The people who had come to the funeral seemed confused by the sudden argument between Marin and me. Some people thought that Marin had been through a tough time since she initiated the conflict. Others thought the problem lay with Marin, judging by my reaction. Each of them likely had complex feelings. Even though it was a funeral, it ended with an awkward atmosphere. I felt very sorry for Jensen. The relationship between Marin, who Jensen had asked me to care for, had turned out this way. Maybe if I had handled things more better, it wouldn't have come to this. But once it had become this strained, there was no turning back. I had decided to forget about Marin and move forward, living on my own. However, a few days later, something unexpected happened. Marin, who had been so confrontational at the funeral, rushed into our home in a panicked state. Wait a minute, what's going on? Did you know about this? Huh? What are you talking about? And by the way, could you please not just enter my home without permission? That's not the point, right now. I'm asking if you knew the truth. So answer me. Marin said with a pale face, and I responded, the truth. You mean the fact that you or Jason are not blood related? I mean, I thought that was obvious. Why? How? Well, Jensen and I are married. When you marry, those kinds of things are usually discussed, aren't they? On the contrary. Didn't you know until this age? Well, it's strange. You used to make such a big deal about how close you and Jensen were. Not being informed about such an important detail, doesn't that make you feel untrusted? I said the same thing to Marin with what she told me at the funeral, feeling somewhat immature, but I just had to say it. As expected, Marin turned her face even paler at my words. And then she whispered in a small voice, "Please tell me." "I see, you thought you were his daughter, so you didn't know. All right, I'll tell you." And with that, I began to tell Marin the truth. Actually, Marin was Jensen's stepchild, not his biological child. Actually, she was the child of Jensen's previous wife, from her previous marriage. When his ex-wife divorced, Jensen took custody of Marin, and he raised her, after his ex-wife passed away. It seems Marin found out about this, when she was going through the inheritance paperwork, and examining the family registry. That's the kind of situation we're in. But I consider Marin like my own daughter. So if we were to remarry, I would want you to treat her as your own daughter. Jensen used to say this a long time ago. That's why I also cared for Marin so dearly. No, it's a lie. That can't be true. Why do you think that? Because. But Marin wouldn't believe my words. When I asked her for her reasons, she responded with frustration, because I wasn't legally adopted by Dad. He never intended to leave me an inheritance. So, the idea that he thought of me as precious is just. Oh, now that you mention it, he didn't legally adopt you. But that was for your benefit. My benefit? Yes, that's right. When you legally adopt someone, you assume responsibility for their care, including elderly care. So Jensen intentionally didn't go through the legal adoption process. As for the inheritance, he planned to gradually give it to you while he was still alive. Well, he passed away suddenly, so that couldn't happen. That can't be. Upon hearing the truth, Marin collapsed to her knees. But she quickly stood up and said, "So, what happens to the inheritance? Dad was quite wealthy, right? If I don't inherit it, what will happen? What is gonna happen? It's obvious. You don't know that, despite your age? I'm Jensen's only family. His parents are no longer here, so I will inherit everything." "No way!" Marin screamed at the top of her lungs, loud enough for the entire neighborhood to hear. And in the next moment, she said this, "Then, why don't you make a lifetime gift on Dad's behalf?" That's fine, isn't it? Dad had planned to do that when he was alive, right? Well, actually, I did plan to do that. But, at that point, I paused for a moment. Marin, who had momentarily looked happy, now appeared anxious. So, I continued, "Did you forget what you said during the funeral? You said we should cut ties, because we're not family, right? You won't seek assistance from me in the future, no matter what." "Yes, but that's. Moreover, you even lied that Jensen disliked me." "That can't be true, right? We were married. And Jensen used to say that." "What did he say?" "In case something happens to him. He asked me to help you if you ever find out the truth and feel desperate. But if you say something disrespectful to me before that, that's an exception. He said he won't give money to someone so rude, so he told me to cut you off." This can't be. Marin had a pale face. She seemed to remember her words from a few days ago. However, she couldn't accept it. She spoke to me in a soft, sweet tone. "Mom, I'm sorry. I was, upset at that time." "Huh?" "So, I was really upset. That's why I said things that I didn't mean during the funeral. But that wasn't my true feeling. So, from now on, let's continue as we have been." Marin seemed to believe that would resolve everything. But during that moment at the funeral, I was insulted. Among the attendees at the funeral, there might still be people who misunderstand me as a terrible mom. That's why I can't forgive Marin's words. You're already 20 years old, right? Do you really believe such statements would be taken seriously? But I was upset. Even when you're upset, There are things you can and cannot say. I responded sharply to Marin, who was still trying to deceive. Then I reaffirmed my decision to cut ties. As I said back then, I have no intention of helping you anymore. Of course, I won't make any lifetime gifts either. No matter how tight your finances get or whatever happens, I have no intention of helping you. Don't come to this house ever again. It's not your parents' home. I'll sue you for trespassing. In response to my words, Marin turned even paler, going beyond a mere shade of blue. Her voice quivered, possibly out of fear. What should I do? I thought I would receive Dad's inheritance, so I bought various things. Brand name bags, high-end jewelry. I've already used them, so I can't return them. Even if I take them to pawn shop, they won't fetch much either. The credit card payment is due soon. What am I supposed to do? Marin was truly only concerned about herself. She probably wasn't that sad by Jensen's death. She simply wanted to keep the inheritance and live a luxury life that is beyond her standards. I couldn't stand even listening to Marin's selfish remarks. I don't care. It's not my problem that complete stranger is suffering from debt. It's not my concern. Now, please leave for real. Shall I call the police? As I said this, I took out my smartphone. Marin must have realized I was serious with that. Send me the money. I'll be waiting, Tilda. While shouting these words loudly, she ran away. Afterward, I didn't receive any contact from Marin, so I have no idea how she's doing. But it seems she went to her relatives to ask for money. It's the responsibility of the adults, who didn't tell me that I wasn't their real child. So take responsibility and give me money. It appears she said this repeatedly to Jensen's brothers. However, everyone was angry about what Marin said at the funeral, so of course no one was willing to help her. So she borrowed money from a loan company with high interest rate. There are various rumors about her, but honestly, I don't care. On the other hand, just as I explained to Marin, I got all of Jensen's heritages. But I work as well, and I don't feel like to live extravagantly with it. I plan to use the money to make some renovations to the house that I lived with Jensen. After that, if there's anything left, I might consider donating it somewhere. I don't really need money to just spend lavishly. If I can just have enough to cherish the memories with Jensen.